I love my children. I love my husband. They're my whole world. And outside of that, I don't need more. And as long as they love me and they believe that I'm special, that's legacy in itself. I've always just had a very simplistic, normal, basic life. And I've never been out in the middle of everybody. I've just been me, you know, and nobody's ever noticed me. And so I guess maybe that's why. I didn't plan my life, I guess. I struggled a lot growing up with my disabilities, and I was a very non-social child. I had social anxiety and whatnot, and I dreamt of things from the time I entered into elementary school or grade school. Was diagnosed with a disability. Not sure what the disability was. I was always at the back of the class. I was always the one that went to the resource class and then, you know, went back to my regular class and fell behind. I went through all through junior high and high school. Still didn't really know what my disability was, just that I had a learning disability. I struggled in reading, mathematics, comprehension. It was battle. I mean, I would cry my eyes out because I didn't know it or I couldn't learn it. And then the last several years, you know, I wanted to be something more. Now I've learned that I have dyslexia and I have a processing disorder. Luckily, I've entered a program where I'm able to learn how to retrain my brain to learn differently. And it's hard. It is so hard. It is a struggle every day, and I'm exhausted. I mean, there's things that I never learned. Letters, sounds. I'm learning them all over again. How to say words or the meanings, and it's opened a whole new world to me, just to be able to function in daily society. It's not that I'm going to take it to be able to become the successful, you know, whatever, and have this huge career in any way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of me being able to be successful in my own personal life and successful as a mother. I always wanted to be married, and the funny thing is I never wanted children. Growing up, babysitting, whatnot, that was never on my list. Was never gonna have it, whatever. And here I am. I have 3 beautiful children and an amazing husband. I was married to my first husband, and he didn't want to have children either. We were not going to have kids, and we got married, and 3 months later he came to me and said, we're supposed to have kids. Lo and behold, I was pregnant. And it actually was a really difficult struggle to get my kids here. My first pregnancy, I was really, really sick. They thought my appendix was going to burst. Come to find out, I had cysts on my fallopian tubes that were about to burst, and I'd nearly lost him. A few weeks after that, I went in to get checked, and the doctor found something really odd on his brain. And he's like, you know, we need to look into this closer. And there was a cyst on his brain, and it was a quarter size. My dad and my husband at the time had given me a blessing. 2 weeks later, we went back and had another ultrasound, and the cyst was completely gone. My OBGYN at the time had said he'd never seen it in all of his years practicing medicine. We got my son here, and it was a miracle. I had him really young. I started young. My last one, we weren't even going to have any more after 2. We ended up having 3. At 24 years old, I was divorced. Honestly, knowing that we weren't going to have her, and then suddenly she was coming, I really think that there was a hand of God in that, knowing that I needed her. And if I hadn't had her, I probably would have curled up in a ball like a lot of people do and got depressed and whatnot. And I jumped up and I took care of her. She was my angel that God sent me for her to take care of me, to make sure I made it through that hard time. I was married and divorced several times. But I was married for 5 months at a time was not, was not very long. I was single for 10 years. I was a single mom. To have to be that single mom and be the mom and the dad for everything, whether it was basketball games and homework and dance, and to make sure the kids got to everything, plus work. I knew that my kids needed a mom. It was really hard. I didn't want to be the mom that came home and, rushed through homework and dinner and sent the kids off to bed, and I didn't know my kids and they didn't know me. I struggled financially, I struggled emotionally, but I did it for my kids. I think the things that got me through were the fact that I was so stubborn and hard-headed and strong-willed. I think also, probably looking back, I didn't want the people in my life that had hurt me to be there and sit there and point at me and say that they were able to put me down and keep me down. I wasn't going to let them do that. And having my children help me get me through that. I always grew up knowing that I was never going to be somebody super special or, be this important person, or that the whole world knew who I was. But after I had my children, and now that they're teenagers, I just want them to know that I love them. And I did everything I could for them. That's all. That's all that matters.